Koine Greek, also known as Alexandrian dialect, Common Attic or Hellenistic Greek, was the common supra-regional form of Greek spoken and written during Hellenistic and Roman antiquity. It developed through the spread of Greek following the conquest of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC, and served as the common lingua franca of much of the Mediterranean region and the Middle East during the following centuries. It was based mainly on Attic and related Ionic speech forms, with various admixtures brought about through dialect leveling with other varieties. Koine Greek displayed a wide spectrum of different styles, ranging from more conservative literary forms to the spoken vernaculars of the time. As the dominant language of the Byzantine Empire, it developed further into medieval Greek, the main ancestor of modern Greek. Literary Koine was the medium of much of post-classical Greek literary and scholarly writing, such as the works of Plutarch and Polybius. In this context, Koine Greek is also known as Biblical, New Testament, Ecclesiastical, or Patristic Greek. It continues to be used as the liturgical language of services in the Greek Orthodox Church. Name: the word koine is the Greek word for common, and is here understood as referring to the common dialect. The word is pronounced Koine, Koine, or Kini in the US English and Koine in UK English. The pronunciation of the word in Koine gradually changed from close to the ancient Greek pronunciation Koine to Kentucky-ni. Its pronunciation in modern Greek is Ci-ni. The term was applied in several different senses by ancient scholars. A school of scholars such as Apollonius Discolus and Aelius Herodianus maintained the term Koine to refer to the Proto-Greek language, while others used it to refer to any vernacular form of Greek speech which differed somewhat from the literary language. When Koine Greek became a language of literature by the 1st century BC, some people distinguished it into two forms: written as the literary post-classical form, and vernacular as the day-to-day spoken form. Others chose to refer to Koine as the Alexandrian dialect or the dialect of Alexandria, or even the universal dialect of its time. The former was often used by modern classicists. Origins and history. Koine Greek arose as a common dialect within the armies of Alexander the Great. Under the leadership of Macedon, their newly formed common dialect was spoken from Egypt to Mesopotamia. It replaced the city-states' numerous dialects with an everyday form that people anywhere could understand, though elements of Koine Greek took shape during the classical era. The post-classical period of Greek is defined as beginning with the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC, when cultures under Hellenistic sway in turn began to influence the language. The passage into the next period, known as medieval Greek, dates from the foundation of Constantinople by Constantine I in 330. The post-classical period of Greek thus refers to the creation and evolution of Koine Greek throughout the entire Hellenistic and Roman eras of history until the start of the Middle Ages. The linguistic roots of the common Greek dialect had been unclear since ancient times. During the Hellenistic age, most scholars thought of Koine as the result of the mixture of the four main ancient Greek dialects: Kappa tau nu tau epsilon tau tau alpha omega nu sigma upsilon nu epsilon sigma tau sigma alpha. This view was supported in the early 20th century by Paul Kretschmer in his book Die Entstehung der Koine, while Ulrich Wilamowitz and Antoine Mate, based on the intense ionic elements of the Koine, such as sigma sigma instead of tau tau and rho sigma instead of rho rho, considered Koine to be a simplified form of Ionic. The final answer, which is academically accepted today, was given by the Greek linguist G.N. Hatzidakis, who proved that, despite the composition of the four, the stable nucleus of Koine Greek is Attic. In other words, Koine Greek can be regarded as Attic with the admixture of elements especially from Ionic, but also from other dialects. The degree of importance of the non-Attic linguistic elements on Koine can vary depending on the region of the Hellenistic world. In that respect, The varieties of Koine spoken in the Ionian colonies of Asia Minor would have more intense Ionic characteristics than others, and those of Laconia and Cyprus would preserve some Doric and Arcado-Cypriot characteristics, respectively, etc. The literary Koine of the Hellenistic age resembles Attic in such a degree that it is often mentioned as common Attic. Types. Biblical Koine refers to the varieties of Koine Greek used in the Greek Bible and related texts. Its main sources are the Septuagint, a 3rd century BC Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible and texts not included in the Hebrew Bible, the Greek New Testament, compiled originally in Greek, Septuagint Greek. There has been some debate to what degree Biblical Greek represents the mainstream of contemporary spoken Koine and to what extent it contains specifically Semitic substratum features. These could have been induced either through the practice of translating closely from Hebrew or Aramaic originals, or through the influence of the regional non-standard Greek spoken by the originally Aramaic-speaking Jews. Some of the features discussed in this context are the Septuagint's normative absence of the particles mu epsilon nu and delta epsilon, and the use of gamma epsilon nu epsilon tau omicron to denote "it came to pass." Some features of Biblical Greek which are thought to have originally been non-standard elements eventually found their way into the main of the Greek language. New Testament Greek. The Greek of the New Testament is less distinctively Semitic than that of the Septuagint because it is largely a de novo composition in Greek, not primarily a translation from Biblical Hebrew and Biblical Aramaic. Patristic Greek. The term Patristic Greek is sometimes used for the Greek written by the Greek Church Fathers, the early Christian theologians in late antiquity. Christian writers in the earliest time tended to use a simple register of Koine, relatively close to the spoken language of their time, following the model of the Bible. After the 4th century, when Christianity became the official state religion of the Roman Empire, more learned registers of Koine also came to be used. Differences between Attic and Koine Greek. The study of all sources from the 6th centuries which are symbolically covered by Koine reveals linguistic changes from ancient Greek on elements of the spoken language, including grammar, word formation, vocabulary and phonology. Most new forms start off as rare and gradually become more frequent until they are established. As most of the changes between modern and ancient Greek were introduced via Koine, Koine is largely familiar and at least partly intelligible to most writers and speakers of modern Greek. Differences in grammar phonology during the period generally designated as Koine Greek. A great deal of phonological change occurred. At the start of the period, the pronunciation was virtually identical to ancient Greek phonology, whereas in the end it had much more in common with modern Greek phonology. The 3 most significant changes were the loss of vowel length distinction, the replacement of the pitch accent system by a stress accent system, and the monophthongization of several diphthongs. The ancient distinction between long and short vowels was gradually lost, and from the 2nd century BC all vowels were isochronic. From the 2nd century BC, the ancient Greek pitch accent was replaced with a stress accent. Loss of h, the spiritus asper, h, had already been lost in the Ionic varieties of Asia Minor, and the aeolic of Lesbos, ieioi, were simplified to eta, omega, io. The diphthongs alpha iota, epsilon iota, and omicron iota became monophthongs. Alpha iota, which had already been pronounced as by the Boeotians since the 4th century BC and written eta, became in Koine, too, first a long vowel, and then, with the loss of distinctive vowel length, merging with epsilon. The diphthong epsilon iota had already merged with iota in the 5th century BC in Argos, and by the 4th century BC in Corinth, and it acquired this pronunciation also in Koine. The diphthong omicron iota fronted to y, merging with upsilon. The diphthong upsilon iota came to be pronounced yj, and remained a diphthong. The diphthong omicron upsilon had been already raised to u in the 6th century BC, and remains so in modern Greek. The diphthongs alpha upsilon and epsilon upsilon came to be pronounced avev, but are partly assimilated to aff before the voiceless consonants theta, kappa, chi, pi, sigma, tau, phi, chi, and psi. Simple vowels mostly preserve their ancient pronunciations. Eta, e, was raised and merged with iota. In the 10th century AD, upsilon, omicron iota, y, unrounded to merge with iota. These changes are known as iotacism. The consonants also preserve their ancient pronunciations to a great extent, except beta, gamma, delta, phi, theta, chi and zeta. Beta, gamma, delta, which were originally pronounced bd, became the fricatives v, th, which they still are today, except when preceded by a nasal consonant. In that case, they retain their ancient pronunciations. The latter three, which were initially pronounced as aspirates, developed into the fricatives f, theta, and x. Finally zeta, which is still metrically categorized as a double consonant with she and psi because it was initially pronounced as sigma delta, later acquired its modern-day value of z. New Testament Greek phonology. The Koine Greek in the table represents a reconstruction of New Testament Koine Greek, deriving to some degree from the dialect spoken in Judea and Galilee during the 1st century and similar to the dialect spoken in Alexandria, Egypt. Note the realizations of certain phonemes differ from the more standard Attic dialect of Koine. Note the soft fricative beta in intervocalic position, the preservation of the aspirated plosive value of ph, th, and kh. The preservation of a distinction between the four front vowels I, E, and Y, and other features. Sample Koine texts. The following texts show differences from Attic Greek in all aspects: grammar, morphology, vocabulary, and can be inferred to show differences in phonology. The following comments illustrates the phonological development within the period of Koine. The phonetic transcriptions are tentative, and are intended to illustrate two different stages in the reconstructed development. An early conservative variety still relatively close to Classical Attic, and a somewhat later, more progressive variety approaching modern Greek in some respects. Sample 1. A Roman decree. The following excerpt, from a decree of the Roman Senate to the town of Thisba in Boeotia in 170 BC, is rendered in a reconstructed pronunciation representing a hypothetical conservative variety of mainland Greek Koine in the early Hellenistic era. The transcription shows partial, but not yet completed raising of eta and epsilon iota to I, retention of pitch accent, and retention of word initial h. Pi epsilon rho nu theta iota sigma beta epsilon sigma lambda omicron gamma omicron epsilon sigma pi omicron iota eta sigma alpha nu tau omicron pi epsilon rho tau nu kappa alpha theta alpha tau omicron sigma pi rho alpha gamma mu alpha tau omega nu omicron tau iota nu epsilon sigma nu tau phi iota lambda iota tau mu epsilon rho nu epsilon mu epsilon iota nu alpha nu pi omega sigma alpha tau omicron sigma delta omicron theta sigma iota nu omicron sigma tau kappa alpha theta alpha tau omicron sigma pi rho alpha gamma mu alpha tau alpha shi eta gamma eta sigma omega nu tau alpha iota pi epsilon rho tau omicron epsilon tau omicron pi rho alpha gamma mu alpha tau omicron sigma omicron tau omega sigma delta omicron shi epsilon nu pi omega sigma kappa omicron iota nu tau omicron sigma mu alpha iota nu iota omicron sigma tau rho alpha tau eta gamma sigma tau nu kappa tau sigma epsilon nu kappa lambda eta tau omicron upsilon pi epsilon nu tau epsilon pi omicron tau alpha shi omicron nu alpha tau kappa tau nu delta eta mu omicron sigma iota omega nu pi rho alpha gamma mu alpha tau omega nu kappa alpha tau sigma delta iota alpha sigma pi iota sigma tau epsilon omega sigma phi alpha iota nu omega nu tau alpha iota. Peri ho ntiz bis lo us apoye santo peri to en cat tau to spra mato en ho etines ntp ilia it he metera ion eminan. Hopper s autostotosin hoist tar cat how to spra mater ekse acute so ntai peri 222 pra matos hu to esedoxin hopper sk intosh minios stratos to enectes in clay to pentarapotaxa hoi an auto iec to endermosio npra mato nkite esidia pistia spi no ntai concerning those matters about which the citizens of Thisba made representations concerning their own affairs. The following decision was taken concerning the proposal that those who remained true to our friendship should be given the facilities to conduct their own affairs, that our governor Quintus Menius should delegate 5 members of the Senate who seemed to him suitable in the light of their public actions and individual good faith. Sample 2 Greek New Testament. The following excerpt, the beginning of the Gospel of John, is rendered in a reconstructed pronunciation representing a progressive popular variety of Koine in the early Christian era, with vowels approaching those of modern Greek. Nu rho chi nu lambda omicron gamma omicron sigma kappa alpha lambda omicron gamma omicron sigma nu pi rho sigma tau nu theta epsilon omicron nu kappa alpha theta epsilon sigma nu lambda omicron gamma omicron sigma omicron tau omicron sigma nu rho chi pi rho sigma tau nu theta epsilon omicron nu pi alpha nu tau alpha delta iota alpha tau omicron gamma epsilon nu epsilon tau omicron kappa alpha chi omega rho sigma alpha tau omicron gamma epsilon nu epsilon tau omicron delta nu gamma epsilon gamma omicron nu epsilon nu alpha tau zeta omega nu kappa alpha zeta omega nu tau phi sigma tau nu theta rho omega pi omega nu kappa alpha tau phi sigma nu tau sigma kappa omicron tau iota phi alpha iota nu epsilon iota kappa alpha sigma kappa omicron tau iota alpha alpha tau omicron kappa alpha tau epsilon lambda alpha beta epsilon nu NRKI in Oloos, KEOLOOS in brothers to TEO, KETEOs in Oloos, UTOs in and RKI pros to TEO, Pandadia to Egeneto, KEKO Rissa to Egeneto Uda en Ogeron Enetazoa in, KEI Zoai into Pios Tun and T Ropon, KE to Pios and ISKOTA PNE, KEISKOTA to Ukartella Beta N. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not.